So, Mike, a few months ago, we did a conversation on vaccination. We called it the Vaccination Fascination.
Yeah.
You weren't going to get a vax because you didn't want to get a tail. How do you feel about it now? Do you have a tail?
Tail's growing great right now. Yeah.
Is it growing? So you did get vaxxed?
I didn't yet, actually.
Oh.
No, I didn't. But I might.
Well,
I think things have changed.
maybe you're the reason all those people are in the hospital.
It is my fault. That's what my wife says.
Oh, yikes. Well, today we're talking Vaccination Fascination Part 2.
Part 2.
And this is not your normal Bible talk.
This is the Thinking Cup podcast, and it starts now.
2 men,
Dude. Come on, dude.
2 cups of coffee,
I've never had anything like this.
1 table.
This is not your normal Bible talk.
This is a podcast.
Bringing the tough topics to sip on.
Guacamole or guacamole?
Whatever.
Ben, Orian,
I don't understand people most of the time.
Mike Colburn.
I don't understand myself most of the time.
This is not your normal Bible talk.
I don't understand you most of the time.
It's the Thinking Cup podcast.
We are going way off the rails now.
Welcome to the Thinking Cup podcast.
Hey, welcome back to the Thinking Cup podcast. Alongside Mike Colburn, I'm Ben Orian. Just in case you forgot who we were, because Mike, it's been a while since we've
I
done
almost
this.
forgot who I am. What are we doing?
We've been getting so many emails, and well, maybe not as many emails as phone calls. People calling and saying, "Hey, are y'all ever going to do this again?" And
Yeah.
even my own wife.
I even got a pigeon carrier message.
I got something for you. Yeah, no, my wife was like, you guys need to get back into it. And part of the challenge was we went into the summer. Right as summer was beginning, I moved. I sold my house and I moved. And then I went on vacation. Oh, you went on vacation the same week, I think.
We did.
We were like vacationing 15 miles apart from each other and never saw each other. That's true vacation.
That's kind of odd.
That's kind of weird. And then the summer's ending and you moved.
Yeah, then we moved, and that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So finally the kids are back in school now, and we are back. And this is season 2. This is episode 2 of season 2. This is episode 3. Episode 2 hasn't even been finished yet.
What episode is it?
This is the 37th episode.
I will tell you, this is the best episode since the last one.
Oh, my word. I got something for you. We're off to a bad start, but we are here at Red Kite in Springdale, and we want to say a big thanks to the team here at Red Kite for giving us the opportunity to come in and record. And it's really good to have a coffee shop conversation in a coffee shop. So
we were talking about that to the owner here. I kind of feel like before it was like a tabletop talk or or a something else. It just wasn't really.
It wasn't the real deal.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right. And so, we want to appreciate them. So in that vein, what are you drinking, Mike?
I am drinking my new favorite type of drink, which can be made with all different types of espresso. I don't even know what type of espresso they put in this, but I love cortadas. And did you know that cortadas were actually developed and made by baristas for baristas?
I did
Did
not
you know that?
I did not know that.
So what a true cortada is it's 1 to 2 ounces of espresso, whether it's single shot, double shot, depending on what you want. And then you put steamed, not frothed, steamed milk. And usually it comes in these smaller, at home I've got the glass double wall glasses, but it's a smaller drink. And the reason why it was made for baristas or by baristas for baristas is because they wanted something they could drink that was small, that also didn't have a lot of calories, but also had the flavor of the coffee. Because a lot of times, like the lattes and the other things, like you don't actually taste the coffee, you taste the syrups and you taste the gooey goodness, all that other stuff. Yeah. So that's what I'm drinking as a cortada. What are you drinking? I heard you got the new famous drink over there. What are you drinking?
I'm calling it a what's the point? Because, so since the last time we recorded, I started my health plan that a few years ago I went on it. I lost 85 pounds on it the first time around. And because of the pandemic and the fact that my kids had so many snacks laying around the house that looked so good, I gained a little bit of weight during the pandemic. In fact, I went back and I looked at our very first podcast together and compared that one with the most recent one we did it's already been a month and a half ago. Yeah. And you could just see the weight in my face. Are you
sure it was the same person? Maybe it was the vaccination that caused
that. This guy was angry at his wife for all the weight that he was gaining. Yeah. And she said, I don't think it's my fault. I think it's the refrigerator. Oh. Anyway, I'm on my health plan, and I've already lost, in 3 weeks, I've lost 20 pounds. But as a result of that, I don't drink caffeine past noon. And I strictly limit how much fat content I take in. I'm averaging about 1,000 calories per day right now, and so I'm drinking a decaf with Truvia sweetener and a splash of coconut. It truly is. What is the point? But we had to have something in a coffee shop to drink, and I'm trying to be good to my plan. So
just make sure you don't grimace when you when you drink it. By the way, this is not a bad rep for Red Kite. It's not Red Kite's fault.
No, well, the thing about it is you're on your second one. Like, you drink one during show prep, and now you're drinking another one. I've still got half of mine from show prep.
I'm on a different diet. It's called the caffeine diet.
You're on a seafood diet. You see food, you drink it, don't you?
I wondered if I should apologize for eating on the show in front of you when you're talking about only 1,000 calories.
Especially what you're eating.
If I ate 1,000 calories, let me just say this, I would probably lethargically just pass out. I wouldn't have enough calories.
Sometimes I wonder how I'm going to make it. Hey, you want to talk about something more important?
I think so. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So this whole conversation about vaccination is huge right now. And I have essentially gotten off of Facebook and only occasionally go on Twitter because I'm just so sick of the rhetoric and the echo chambers, and I can pretty much tell which side of the aisle people are on these things, and pretty much people have already made their decisions and and I realize as I'm saying that there's some irony because we're taking to the platform that we have to talk about something. Sure. But I'm hoping to do it from a standpoint of, first of all, people can see us as we're saying it. When we started this whole thing, we wanted to have a compassionate conversation, a compassionate outcome and understanding, seek to understanding both sides of the argument, and then look at it from a biblical worldview. So we want to come back to this vaccination fascination, and I'm just wondering, I'll just throw it out there, has your opinion on this whole thing changed since the last time we recorded? By the way, Vaccination Fascination was our most downloaded episode in the podcast.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so wondering if your opinions have changed.
Yeah, it's interesting, and this doesn't surprise me, but as time progresses, we all experience this pandemic differently. And what I've seen not only in my own personal situation, but also in other friends, their circumstances, if something, I wouldn't even say catastrophic, but if negative ramifications from either a family member or someone getting it or recovering from it and having issues from it, which I'll just say, I mean, my wife got COVID. My whole family got COVID. I did not. So taking care of them in the midst of, interacting, helping. Now, I didn't stay in the same room while my wife was sick with COVID. But my point in saying this is that my wife, who's super healthy, there's nothing really that wrong with her, at least not physically, maybe at least not. Sorry, honey, I love you. No.
You're sleeping out on the back on the couch tonight.
In all honesty, she's super healthy. Yeah. She's very, very healthy. And what happened is, in the midst of losing her dad in November, losing her stepfather in December, and getting COVID in the middle. She had COVID and couldn't visit her dad while her dad was on his deathbed in November. All three of those caused such a stress trigger for her that when she got COVID, it unleashed an autoimmune disease because of it. And so now she's dealing with Hashimoto's. She's dealing with it, and it took her months. In fact, she's still recovering in some regards. Yeah. Over a year later. She
talks about sometimes, hey, I got to go take a nap, or I got to disengage.
So has my view changed? Absolutely it has. Yeah. It's changed because, not because the science is any better or different, or my political views necessarily are any different or better or whatever, but because it's more personal to me, because it's hit me harder.
Yeah.
And so I think that's true with many of our listeners.
You know, and it didn't just go through your family. It went through mine as well. My wife, my son had it simultaneously. We never had her tested, but we suspect my daughter had it the week before because all the classic symptoms were there. It was actually kind of funny when my wife finally determined that she was going to go get tested was when she lost her sense of smell.
Yeah.
Prior to that, she hadn't had any fevers. She hadn't had any symptoms, and then all of a sudden one day she recognized, hey, I don't even smell my coffee. I don't smell anything. And my son said, well, I smell everything. And she goes, are you sure? And so he goes and tries to smell his shoes. And he goes, whoa, trippy, man. I can't smell anything.
Of all things you could choose to smell.
So he hands it to me. He goes, Daddy, can you smell? And I was like, oh, I'm about dying over here.
Yeah.
I never had a positive test. I have been tested several times. Never a positive test. Never had any symptoms. I lived in the house with them. In fact, I slept in the bed with Sylvia for 3 days until she got tested. Once she got tested, I was like, okay, I'm out.
Which is funny because they know a couple days prior to you having symptoms, you've already contracted it.
Correct.
So you were exposed to it. Same with me. I was exposed to it.
Yes.
And what's unique, people ask, hey, Mikey, you have your vaccine? Does your family have your vaccine? Which, first of all, is a really personal question. I don't know why we even ask people that. Okay.
Yeah.
But second of all, my kids are too young to get it.
Mm-hmm.
My wife can't get it. The
because
doctors
of all
have
the other
forbid
issues.
her from
Yeah.
getting it because it would actually worsen her current autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
And so I'm stuck in this situation going, hey, do I not? Do I, should I? What's the recourses of it? And honestly, I'm probably going to get it actually to protect my family more than it is to protect me, because I probably wouldn't have a big issue if I did get it, but I can't afford to affect my family with their issues and their struggle with it.
Which brings up a whole nother level of conversation, and that is, do we? And I kind of want to get into that more in the second part of our show. The do I owe this to my neighbor and some of that. I want to talk about the shaming and some of that stuff that's going on. But there are research studies out there. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be. I thought
you were. I thought you were a doctor of divinity.
Master. I'd mastered
divinity.
Oh,
master. You mean all this time? I thought you were actually... No.
Yeah, no. But not yet. But the reason I bring this up, though, is because I laugh at this meme that I saw right as the pandemic was starting. Remember, right before the pandemic started, we were having this heated political battle, and there was this thing on Facebook and Twitter, and it's actually one of the reasons I got off of there as much as I had been on there previously. Was all of the people that were once political science experts are now medical science experts, and it's like, come on, guys, you're just sharing an opinion, you're just rehashing the information that you got. And one of the things that you and I have spent a lot of time on our show talking about is where do we take our facts from? How do we decide what is right and what is wrong? And our personal matrix. And my matrix says now, and partially because of our show, I want to get as much information as I possibly can to figure out where my blind spots are. And when we recorded Vaccination Fascination, I wasn't against getting the vaccine, but it was so new. It was so novel that I had a wait and see attitude. I was like, I want to see where this thing goes.
Yeah. And of course, since then, not only has the vaccination, done its course, so to speak, and of course the first variant of COVID, the positive results of the vaccines were in the 90s, depending on which company you used. Now it's no surprise, and they don't try to keep this secret necessarily, but because of the new variant, the vaccines actually don't prevent you from getting it. You know, it's something like 20 to 25% or less from an effectiveness of preventing you. And a lot of times people will use that as saying like, well, see, they don't work. Again, it depends on where you get your information from. The point of a vaccine isn't always to prevent you from getting it. It's to empower your body and immune system that when it does get it, it knows how to fight it. Yeah. And that's the big issue that, as we know, most of the hospitals, at least in this area, I know I've got a close friend who's fighting for his life right now in the hospital in Johnson City, Tennessee. He wasn't vaccinated. A lot of people aren't vaccinated that are in the ER, that are on respirators, that are on oxygen. Got another business friend that's fighting it as well.
It's hard to argue with the reality that most of the people in the hospital right now, and our hospitals here in Northwest Arkansas are full. It's hard to argue with the fact that most of the people in the hospital right now fighting for their lives on ventilators, on oxygen, are unvaccinated individuals. I think part of it is you got to know your own body. You got to know how your body can fight. You know, I look at it and knock on wood. My family was sick. I lived in the middle of the house. I'm a pastor. I've been in and out of people's homes multiple times that I know have had the virus, and I've never come down with it. And so there is a certain element of that I battle within myself of what do I need it for? You know
the irony of what you just said. You got to know your own body.
Yeah.
We've had other shows where we talk about challenging topics of like homosexuality, the whole like gender, transgender stuff.
Yeah.
Those are all like you got to know your own body, right. And now, and of course, most, I would say liberal, or maybe not even liberal. Maybe it's non-Christian matrix. Would say what you do with your body is what you choose to do with your body.
Yeah.
But yet, when we come to this very topic of vaccines, those same individuals that hold those stance will say, no, you have to do this. I just find it ironic. I find it hypocritical. But it's just not that easy. It's not that black and white. No. It's tough, and there's so many emotions. There's so many personal experiences that make it not that easy to deal with something like this.
And that's what we want to dive into in the second half of our show. Let's dive into some more of this from a community standpoint.
Yeah. Awesome.
Warning, dumb dad jokes ahead.
No!
Hey, Mike, I want to kick this off. I've been waiting for 4 weeks to bust this one out on you.
Better be a good one.
My wife treats me like I'm a god. She pretends like I don't exist and only talks to me when she wants something.
I'm glad that we're talking about our wives.
Uh-oh, what you got?
So my wife, the other day, she caught me performing this action scene from The Matrix.
Yeah?
Yeah. Luckily, though, she thought I was doing yoga exercises.
Yeah?
I just dodged a bullet.
I was thinking about taking up meditation.
Yeah?
I thought that'd be better than just sitting around doing nothing.
Is that why you don't do anything all day? Oh, goodness gracious. I've been trying to take up writing more for some journals. So I wrote this article the other day for this biblical journal. It was comparing the different versions of the Bible. Turns out there was a lot of cross-referencing.
That's terrible.
Terrible! Oh. You know that's what the paper said to the pencil.
What's that?
It's terrible. But what's the point?
I got something for you. I've been looking at this, and my daughter's been watching all the Marvel movies. She's been watching, Thor, and I was thinking about this, and I thought that Marvel should be using the Hulk to advertise more.
Yeah, he's
a big banner.
I see what you did there. I like that. Hey, did you know? I had no clue about this. Did you know that if you go and try to buy a slice of pie
Yeah.
in these different places, like you can buy a slice of pie in Jamaica, it's $2.75. Okay. But then
Yeah.
if you go to Barbados, it's $3.25.
Uh-huh.
If you go to Cuba, it's $3.75 for just
Yeah.
a slight, like at different prices, right? These are the pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Did you know that was coming?
I kind of guessed.
Yeah, I figured. I figured.
Why do guys take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing? In case they get a hole in one.
Or both.
Or both.
Hey, did you know that my birthday's coming up?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I'm going to be 40.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's a pretty sad day. So the only gift that I'm supposed to get for my birthday is a deck of sticky playing cards. I found that very hard to deal with.
Oh, my word. Okay, here's the last one I have for you today.
Okay.
I found an old phone book.
Yeah?
I said this to my kids. They're like, Dad, what's a phone book? But anyway, that's a different joke. I found this old phone book, and I noticed as I was looking through the residential pages that there were 467 Wongs in there. And I was like, that's a lot of Wong numbers.
That's racist.
That was bad.
Hey, how do you avoid death?
How do you avoid death?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Besides telling good jokes, how do you avoid death?
I don't know. I might be dead after that one.
You have to stay in the living room.
Warning, dumb dad jokes ahead.
No!
So you were offended by my Wong joke?
It
was it just Wong?
It was just Wong.
Oh, my word. That's terrible.
It was Wong on many levels.
Oh, boy. All right. Shall we get back to the subject at hand?
We're beating the dead horse at this point. It's just wrong.
It's just Wong. Oh, my goodness. All right. After that dad joke segment, we're ready to go again, I hope.
I think so, maybe.
All right. And you're going to want to see the after credits for that one for sure. Anyway, let's go back to our conversation about the vaccines. And as we were going into the break, we were talking about a community response because there's so much going on. In fact, I feel like there's a lot of shaming going on. There are stores. The city of New York has said unless you're vaxxed, you can't go into businesses. There's places that are saying unless you're vaxxed, you can't come here, you can't go there.
So just side question, how are they even checking if you are?
Well, in a lot of these places, you're required to carry a vaccination passport.
Wow.
And so I wanted to talk about that for just a minute. First of all, my whole attitude on vaccination has shifted from the first time we did the show. Before I had a wait and see. I wasn't against it, but I had a wait and see.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm not opposed at all. In fact, I will give full disclosure. In fact, I thought it would be cool. Maybe I should record when I do go get my vaccine shot. I plan to go get it. I was going to do it this morning before we got together.
Especially
to record.
if you cry like a girl. I would love to have that recorded. Be so Wong.
Oh, no. Oh, no. But I do think that it is also bad or terrible, in fact, that within our society, within government, there is this mandate that is going on. And the reason I want to address this is because as I'm thinking about this, there are three facts that I think we can all agree on because they come straight from the CDC or from wherever you get your information. I think these are three things that most people agree on. Number one, COVID is bad. It's detrimental.
Yeah.
It is a life-threatening, at the very least, a life-altering situation.
Real.
It is real. It is real.
Whether or not you agree on the source of it and where it came from, which is a lot of people have different ideas. It's real.
It's real.
It is a pandemic. It is
That's right.
a virus that's very real.
The second point is that if you do get a vaccine, it makes a difference in the way your body responds to the virus. It does not keep you from getting the virus, but it will minimize the effects of the virus pretty drastically. In fact, one of the things that's most telling to me is the fact that people who are in the hospital right now, as we mentioned earlier in the show, on ventilators and so forth, they're predominantly unvaxxed. The third thing that I would say is that getting the vaccine, previously they told us if you got a vax, you didn't get it, you didn't give it. And that's been proven to be false. In fact, they're using new terminology now called breakthrough of the disease. And so we know that it's real. We know that vaccination minimalizes it, but we also know that you not only can get it, but you can also give it even though you're vaxxed.
Right.
And so that being the case, this is no longer about, well, you should go get your vaccination to help this person or that person. In fact, my wife and I were just reading an article from another doctor who published in the International Medicine of Journal of Medicine, or whatever one of those, reputable journals is, and he says, look, this is going to be around, but what's going to happen is people are going to have to build up their immunities. Our society will build up its immunity over time, and then it'll be kind of like the flu. It's not going to be as big a deal eventually, but it is now.
So let me just make a comment on this. I was having a conversation with my oldest brother, who's a top executive in, he just recently changed which health system, actually currently he's actually in the Advent health system down in Tampa.
Kidding. Okay.
Yeah, Tampa, Florida. But he, through this kind of major pandemic, I mean, he was telling us as we were sitting down having dinner, he's like, Mike, you gotta understand that we had a morgue that couldn't hold the people. I had to personally help carry people out in body bags.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting is he said that he was reading the historical kind of narrative of the Spanish flu that happened almost to the date 100 years ago. And what's really interesting is the way they dealt with it. Masking, not masking, like all those things, same issue.
Yeah.
But what I found fascinating, and this makes, again, I'm not a scientist. I don't study viruses, okay? I'm just getting my information from other people that are smart, okay?
Yeah.
And hoping that they've done their job.
Right, right.
With pandemics like this, at least with the Spanish flu, it lasted about 5 years. And what happened was that viruses, they try to mutate because they want to find more hosts. And so they're trying to become more contagious, which is what happened from the first one to now. The second variant is like 10 times more contagious, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is as it becomes more contagious, it kills more of its hosts.
Yeah.
And so there's this bell curve that happens. And as it continues to mutate over the years, it will eventually peak out and say, okay, now I got to become less damaging because I need to mutate. I need to actually become more, find more hosts.
Yeah.
For the Spanish flu, it took 5 years until eventually, after 5 years, it mutated back to the average of all the other variants. And it was minimally difficult for people. It was almost like you said, it was like a flu kind of virus that you don't really want to get it, but you can fight it.
Well, the flu, even now, people are dying from the common flu today. We're just not hearing about it because of the fact that the markers for the common flu are the same markers in large measure to the COVID, which doesn't shock me because they're coming from the same virus. It's a coronavirus that causes the common flu. It is a coronavirus that causes COVID-19. Look.
You know, if it's a coronavirus, isn't that Mexico's fault? It's so bad.
That was Wong. Anyway.
We're on fire. Maybe we need to take more breaks. Joking.
Yeah, one of the issues that I have in looking at this, and if I can find the exact audio clip, I wish we could play it, but I don't have the rights to do that. One of the health ministers in the Biden administration is actually on the record saying that a lot of the people that have died today didn't die from coronavirus or COVID, but they died with COVID in the system. So they tested positive. They might have been in a car accident. They tested positive post-mortem in the autopsy, and now all of a sudden they mark it down as a COVID death. So I just wish that we could be honest in society that while this is a very real thing, the numbers of people that are dying from this are nowhere near the numbers that were being reported. but it is every bit as serious as what is being reported, and that's why we're having this conversation about this issue.
Yeah, and it is really difficult to cut through the murky water. Yeah. No matter your political view, whether or not you're Christian, not Christian, it just isn't as clear as it should, as it would be nice that it would be.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, you hear something that you said, sometimes the numbers aren't reported right. I asked the same question to my oldest brother, and he said that's absolutely wrong. Mm. We never would report. We never reported a wrong, he was adamant. Yeah. Right? That, of course, we would never report something if it was just in the system.
Oh, no, I had a friend that was worked actually in a mortuary, and he told me straight up, dude fell out of an airplane, his parachute didn't open. But he died from COVID, not from a faulty parachute.
So that's like there's so many different narratives, so many different stories. Yeah. How do you know what's right, what's wrong? Yeah. Everyone thinks they're right.
Of course.
Everyone.
Your information is the best information.
So it does make it very, very challenging. But like you said, the coronavirus is real. Mm-hmm. The vaccine is a truly viable solution. Yeah. Not to prevent it, but to potentially prevent the struggle that you might have. And guys, this is serious for me. I mean, I've got one of my close business partners of almost 7 years, several days ago, practically on deathbed. Mm-hmm. Healthy as can be, runner, no issues, about 40 years old. Yeah. And then I've got another friend who's in his 30s, same thing, healthy. Has some other side issues, but and his father just 2 months ago died from COVID, and now he's in the hospital fighting for his life on COVID. So it's real. Yeah. Neither of them vaccinated. Yeah, no. Does that make me change my perspective? Of course it does. Sure. I look at that and go, man, what if that's me? Yeah. What if I get it and then I cause someone else to get it? What if?
And I look at this and I just say, look, guys, there's no need in shaming the people who don't have it. They may have reasons. For example, your wife, my mother-in-law, she can't get it because she's compromised. Otherwise, it will do more damage to her. Right. So let's stop judging the people who haven't done it, number one. Number two, if you're unvaxxed and you find yourself in the hospital, don't take it out on the nurses. It's not their fault that you're there. One of our good friends, one of our mutual friends is not just a nurse, but she is a lead nurse at her hospital. Mm-hmm. And she was telling me just a couple of weeks ago how she was spit on and people were cussing her out. She has nurses quitting right on the job. And why? Because somebody got COVID and didn't take care of themselves. I mean, it's not the nurse's fault. It's not the doctor's fault that your body did what it has responded the way it has. That's right. And I do think that we owe it to our society to be a little more gentler, a little more compassionate, and a little more understanding. I pray for the nurses. I really started rethinking my own position because I don't want to add to their workload. I haven't gotten it to this point. Maybe I've got the antibodies in it. Maybe I don't. But in all fairness, in all things being equal, I don't want to be in that situation where I have to take that chance. I have pastor friends my age, a little bit older. One of them just died. Another one's in the hospital on oxygen as we speak. It's scary stuff.
I would really love if Jesus would just come down and let me ask him, like, what would you do? How would you interact with these people? And I think we need to think about that more often. What would Christ do if he was in this situation?
A word from the Word.
In the beginning was the Word.
Mike, I've got a word for you today.
Oh, I've got a word for you. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
This is a word that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today. And, when we first had this conversation, it's like, I don't want to get a vaccine because I don't know what's in it, or I've got religious beliefs. And I've got friends, I've got church members. As a pastor, I've got people coming to me saying, hey, Can I get a religious exemption, so forth and so on? And by the way, I don't give those. I'm not allowed to legally.
Some people thought it was like the mark of the beast.
And I've got friends that think that the government's putting trackers in and they're changing your DNA. Look, I actually don't buy any of that anymore. Oh wait, did I say anymore? No, I don't buy any of that. But I do want to talk about the word today. The Greek word is found in Galatians chapter 5 and verse 19. It says, "Now the deeds of the flesh are evident, which are immorality, impurity, sensuality," and it continues to go on: idolatry, sorcery, enmities, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissension, so forth. It goes on down the list. The deeds of the flesh that are evident, and one of those words is the word sorcery, which in the Greek is the word that we get our English word pharmacy.
Nice.
Have you been to the pharmacy lately?
I knew it was Pfizer's fault. No.
And some might argue that all of this is big pharma, all of this is money and so forth and so on.
It's sorcery. I'm just telling you. It is.
Well, the Greek word that's what it means. Pharmacy, literally in the Greek, means sorcery or magic or witchcraft. And so a lot of people today are looking at this and they're going, and I've been into people's homes visiting, and they say, "I wouldn't get that. It's just witchcraft. It's sorcery. It is whatever it is." And I just wanted to go out here on the record and say, when the Bible uses the word pharmacy or pharmacia, it has no idea. The reason why it gets used that way is because in those days, in the days of the first century and even before, it was only witchcraft and sorcerers who did chants and medicines and so forth and so on. By the time we get to the 15th century AD and the King James is coming along and so forth, they just took the word that they knew how to use and they translated it as witchcraft and sorcery. And I as I look at this, I think it would be well for us to do some good exegesis and to realize that what we're dealing with today is not actual witchcraft and sorcery. I think that we need to have a healthier perspective of this. Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27, to discipline our body, to bring it into subjection, lest when we have preached to others, we should become disqualified ourselves. What is he talking about here? He's talking about the need to control yourself. When we get too many drugs into our system, people overdose on, cocaine, marijuana, LSD, all of these types of things. That does create a type of sorcery within yourself. You don't even know what's right, what's real, what's fantasy anymore. It all blends together. And Paul talks about getting rid of that aspect of it. The book of Revelation uses this word pharmacy as well, as saying that those who practice pharmacy are the ones who won't be in heaven. You dive just a little bit deeper, and I wish I had the same kind of time that I do when I'm preaching a sermon to lay this out. But in the final 20 or so seconds here, the pharmacy idea of Revelation, when you dive in deeper, is those who intentionally mislead through deed, through sources of materials that alter the mind or the way the brain works and functions and responds. That's what the Bible is talking about when it talks about pharmacia, because I think God has also given us a brain to use, and God has given us modern medicine, which is marvelous. It has allowed us to conquer a lot of diseases you were mentioning earlier: polio, yellow fever, a lot of these things, the whooping cough, and some of these bubonic plague type things. We've overcome all of those things because of the marvels of modern medicine. So I would suggest, again, going back, making an appeal to our listeners to say, look, let's have a compassionate response. We're supposed to be here helping people to have better lives, more fulfilling lives, being prepared to meet Christ when he comes. I'm okay if you decide not to get a vaccine. It's not going to keep me from hanging out with you. But I'm also not going to condemn you for the choice that you make. Yeah. And I wish that more folks in our society would have that kind of a compassionate attitude toward one another, so that we can actually get along better and have a more Christ-like attitude.
A word from the Word.
In the beginning was the Word.
After 30 minutes of talking, these guys still haven't said anything.
Wait, you guys still aren't finished?
Hey, can I get a caramel macchiato?
One for the road.
And can you make it to go, please?
One for the road.
One. Here's one for the road.
right?
I think so.
Our audience hopes so.
Oh, man.
Today has been Wong, man.
It's been Wong on so many levels. No, I really appreciate the conversation. I wish we had more time to really have a raw conversation on some other aspects of this. But I will say that, as I've said several times in some of the other episodes, compassion, mercy, grace. Sometimes the way we think things are isn't actually the way it is after time and after experience and after engaging in certain things. Like for me, for example, my view of this whole conversation has shifted. Not because necessarily there's more truth out there, but because I've been affected by it differently. Yeah. And that helps me to have more empathy. It helps me to have more compassion towards other people. I just wish that we could all treat others with more empathy and more compassion when it comes to the vaccine and when it comes to treating the people that have to the nurses and the doctors and the people that have to engage in really dealing with this on the front line. And I just want to say this, a shout out as a thank you to all the people that are on the front lines and are working hard, and the people that have, those of you that have lost someone because of this. We're all in this together. We've all been affected at different levels, and all I can say is we need Christ to come fast. We need him to come soon. Before I finish out this one for the road, though, I have to give another shout out.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about no matter which side of the aisle you are on. Well, we actually met a new friend and a new follower that actually deals with people on different sides of the aisle. Yeah. And we're not talking Democrats, Republicans. No. We're talking about the in-laws on either side. Yeah, the groom and the bride. We met Amanda Reed. Give a big shout out to amandareed.com, I think it is, with weddings. And we just want to thank her for, number one, for becoming our most recent follower. But
we had a great conversation with her.
We did.
Good laugh out loud fun.
She said she couldn't join us today because she didn't put her face on. I was a little bit uncomfortable with that. I didn't know how that would.
But Amanda, if you're listening, if you will send us an email at info@thethinkingcup.com, we will send you your own bag of coffee that you can have, and we just as a way of saying thanks for the great conversation we enjoyed with you today.
It may be a what's the point, but it will be some coffee.
It'll be something, won't it? No, we'll give her some caffeine. Who knows?
Well, that's it, Ben.
That's it, man. Mike, this was fun because we didn't actually write a script. A lot of times when we do our shows, we have at least a direction that we want to go. This was just from our hearts, from our, what we're feeling on the subject.
Some would say it was pointless then.
A lot of people say that about my sermons and my thoughts anyway, but
no, we're super glad that you guys were with us today. What do we have exiting out, man?
Well, we just want to say thanks. Check us out on the web. You can find us, listen to us on Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, YouTube. I like the YouTube version. Yeah. And Facebook. Be sure to give us a shout. Send us your feedback. Send us your thoughts. We'd like to share it. We're going to be recording here at the Red Kite again. So we usually on Wednesdays, if you're in Northwest Arkansas, want to pop in afternoon between 1 and 3, come say hi. We'd love to visit with you.
Awesome. Send us an email at Mike or Ben. Not Mike or, but Mike at The Thinking Cup or Ben at The Thinking Cup. And, of course, communicate with us on the Facebook page as well. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening. What are we talking about today? Vaccinations and how they're wrong. Oh, we're gonna have to start this over. Right. Are you ready to roll now?
Ready to roll now. All right. I think I've sufficiently recomposed myself after that very
All right.
terrible dad joke
It
segment.
was just long.
That's brutal.
At this point, I don't even know why I'm laughing.
I can't stop. Oh my goodness.
It hit the wrong funny bone.
You know, there's a Wong out there listening. He's going, I don't think that's funny at all.
We're not laughing at you. We're laughing with you.
Start laughing. Start laughing. Oh, my word.
Oh, it is good to laugh.
So much for getting that in one segment.
Oh, goodness gracious.
All right. I'll put that in the after credits.
Oh, no need to cut that. Leave that in.
All right. All right. After that terrible dad joke segment, we're back, and
They'll want to know why I'm crying.
there's obviously something missing in the. You need to go look at the after credits today. There's going to be some really good. Not much was said. All right, we're talking vaccination, and I just hit puberty there.
That was long.
Okay. All right.
Let me start this over.
All right. What do we got? 10 minutes? All right.
All right, yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.